have a great agenda tonight, including a presentation from, or several presentations from our students, which is something we really enjoy a great deal. So before we get started, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Micah, and he can give us his updates.
This time of year we have so many things to celebrate, so this is going to take me a minute, but just a lot of great things happening this time of year as we're over that mid-year point, and so our high school wind ensemble and concert band received 1 ratings at the festival. Students qualified and will be attending the state festival. In addition, 10 students will be going on to the state to compete in solo and ensemble. So Mrs. Stevens is in her first festival as our band director, and she and Mrs. Murdoch are doing a great job together and sustaining the excellence in our band program. Moorish Elementary School held the staff versus 5th graders basketball game on March 5th. 50 5th graders played in the game. However, the staff won by a narrow margin of 33-31. But they did raise over $3,000 for New Hope Animal Rescue through raffles and 50-50 silent auction. Gaines Elementary is also proud to announce that they've been chosen by U.S. Lacrosse as a 2020 physical education grant recipient, and they're going to be receiving $600 in lacrosse equipment and balls for their school physical education program. And we have 11 Swartz Creek students who are moving on to the State Invention Convention held at the Henry Ford Museum on April 25th. Swartz Creek will be represented by 3 middle school students, 7 Deke Elementary students, and 1 Elms Road Elementary student. So good luck to all of them. And last but certainly not least, I'd like to congratulate several high school individuals: Allison Green Bell, Zach Bradley, Scott McElroy, Jacob Osterwick, and Garrett Snyder. These individuals participate in the Genesee County ROTC program, and they won the entire state competition. They are the state champions for the state of Michigan. So very impressed with those individuals and everybody that's doing such a great job, and thank you for all their efforts. I would be remiss if I didn't also say that the 7th grade Dragon Band received a 2nd division rating, and the Symphonic Band, the 7th and 8th grade, received a 1st rating, and will be performing at the state festival on May 1st as well. So lots of positive things happening there.
Great, great news. Congratulations to all of our students. Normally I name them, but I think we have quite a list there. So congratulations, students. All right, we also have an opportunity for folks to give public comment related to items that are on our agenda this evening. If you'd like to address the board, please stand, state your name, and keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. Is there anyone? And I can't see all the way over into the corner. I just want to make sure I'm acknowledging anybody. All right, you'll have a chance later in the meeting as well. Okay, and we will be taking a break at some point so that all of you who need to go home and do homework can go home and do homework. All right, we have a consent agenda. I would entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Support.
Mike and Tony, any comments or questions? Hearing none, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, back to you, Mr. Micah, for the, I'm sorry, we're back to Jacob for the student board representative report.
Thank you very much, and thank goodness I prepared something today, because otherwise everything Mr. Mike said he stole from me. So we have ITC at our school. It's the newscast that they put on, and they had a piece on there about the Eco Club at our school, and I was very happy to see that. It's something that we haven't had before, and so I thought it would be fantastic if I reached out to them and had them put together a little presentation just to tell you what it is that they do, why they do it, how they do it. And so, anyone who's here from that can come up and introduce yourselves.
Hello, I'm Emma. I'm Emily. We're members from ECO. I'm the president, and then these are pretty much my advices. How do you go to the next slide?
You wanna?
Click. Not sure if you can see it. My head's kind of in the way. So I started planning early October last year. It took about a month to start planning and everything like that.
You can feel free to stand aside
Okay,
if it's
yeah.
easier for you to look.
That might work a little
There
bit.
you go.
So I formally introduced it a month later to Miss Church, who was our sponsor for Eagle Club. Our first meeting was November 18th, and I originally started with every other Monday, but the demand for it from our members, we ended up going to every week. And then we just recently started recycling pickup on February 10th. These are just some of the art pieces that a girl from our club made, so I thought those were pretty impactful. It gives kids an opportunity to be creative along with their passion for the environment.
The ITC video that we made was made by Roy Spotsville, her brother, and then produced by her, and it was with a lot of the members of Eco Club and Quinoa's representative Bill.
Bill Pitsley.
Pitsley.
So this is how Jacob actually saw our club. So this was a good way to reach out. We got to collab with ITC, so that was a really fun experience, like getting with them and seeing their like artistic side and see how they produce things. Would you guys be wanting to watch it at all?
How
I
long
think
is
so.
it?
Okay.
How long is it?
I think it's just.
It's not long.
Couple
It's
minutes?
about like
Okay.
a minute. Go ahead. Regular Eco Club meeting consists of people just coming together and like sharing like common interests and like brainstorming ideas of how to like make our school greater.
We talked about ways to make our school more environmentally friendly. Right now, we're working on getting recycling bins to the teachers and taking styrofoam things out of the washrooms.
Right now, we're talking about how to like get rid of styrofoam and washrooms. And then we're also talking about other like ways to help the environment around the school, not only inside.
We brainstorm a lot.
So around that book, we try and figure everything out because, like, we think it's a small, short process, but it's actually really, it takes a long time. So we just figure out a lot of kinks and just try and work our hardest on getting those ideas out as quickly as possible.
My name is Bill Pitsley. I'm the past president of the Kiwanis Club. The purpose of Kiwanis is to help kids. And part of helping kids is helping them grow and progress. So we're hoping that we can support Eco Club and that they can do some things that have benefit to the environment and also teach the kids how to work through problems and processes and make changes in our world so that they come out of high school better leaders.
You can go ahead and next slide. Sure. So, as it was kind of stated in the video, we've been putting recycling bins throughout the school. That was a big thing that we wanted to do, and we have accomplished it. We made sure that the recycling bins were in all the classrooms, offices, the library, and every Monday, we pick up the recycling, and the Kiwanis Club was generously helped us supply us with the funds to make sure that we could get these bins out. And then another thing that was mentioned in the video that we are trying to get in the works is going from styrofoam lunch plates in the cafeteria to biodegradable ones. It takes over 500 years to decompose a plate, which is such a long time, and 30% of American landfills are filled with it. It's just not good for the environment, so we're trying to make sure that we can switch over to ones that are compostable. They're better for the environment, and they're pretty much around the same price, so it's very beneficial. So some future plans at Eco Club ones. We want to plant some flowers and trees around our school because that would one make the school look very good, and also trees and flowers are obviously very good for the environment. Picking up trash outside the school. We've had a lot of kids from our school come up to me and say like, "Hey, we have a lot of trash," and like the outside just around the school. I think that make it look a lot better for like even visiting schools to come and see them. Just a lot cleaner environment. Cleaning up the courtyard within the school. I think that could be a good environment for Eco to even meet because it's outside, fresh air. It's just part of what we're learning about and what we're like passionate about. So I feel like that'd be a good environment for us. Collabing with ITC because I feel like that makes a good impact. We can talk to kids within our school and really connect with them to get them like interested in the environment because I feel like it's something we all have in common. And we're also looking to collab with student council on the water bottle refill stations so that we can cut down on the waste that's produced at the school.
Nice.
That's it.
Nice work, ladies.
So really this is some of the best of what Swartz Creek High School has to offer. I was just so impressed with these individuals. Emma is a freshman at our school, and she came in, saw a need, and created this club, and is now the president of it. It's just extraordinary. So thank you so much for all you do. Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Thank you. Could we get a recycling bin for this room or this office?
I could actually, yes.
I drink a lot of water and I always have to look for where I can take them home. That's what I do is take them
I
home.
do the same thing too at lunches. I'll just put it in my bag and go home and get them.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Jacob. Appreciate it very much. Okay. Moving on, we're back to Ben for the superintendent report.
Thank you. I'd like to basically prep people and obviously let the board know. I know there's been a lot of conversation around the world and the country about coronavirus. We've received countless emails, phone calls. We've had some communication that's been provided. And I think it's just important to kind of help everybody understand where we're at with this. The word got out that the Michigan State University, along with several other state universities, canceled classes in response to the virus. We have been working very closely with health professionals, the Center for Disease Control, and the health department has not issued guidance in any capacity that suggests that we close school. Each of those universities certainly makes their own decisions on how they're going to do those things. We've been in contact with all of the entities from the Michigan High School Athletic Association to different extracurricular groups to all of the groups that are receiving, associations that are receiving guidance from state health professionals. Obviously, as educators, we're concerned with how would we help provide students' education in the event that school was closed. And I'm not suggesting that school is going to be closed. We're going to really lean on our health professionals for that. We've worked behind the scenes. We've done pandemic planning. We have some things in place for that. But at this point, the guidance that we're being given from all of the health agencies are to essentially wash our hands, be mindful of the common flu, and everything that you would do to prevent the common cold and common flu are the same recommendations that they would give you for this. So we're following that guidance. I put that guidance out to our families. We don't have any plans to cancel, to dispel any rumors, but certainly if it came to that and there was recommendations from the health professionals, we would be very much following their guidance. So we'll be continuing to take our cues from them, and we will keep everyone informed as we move forward. I had an opportunity today I'd like to bring to the board, if Madam President is agreeable. Had a presentation from Voices for Children. They're a phenomenal group in our county that really work on preventing child abuse. And so we have a fantastic organization here locally, Voices for Children, that I'd like to bring in the future. But just to let you know, we do have programming for children in kindergarten, first and second grade to talk about body awareness and what it is that is acceptable and not acceptable, and what a trusting adult is or isn't. And so I'd like to maybe share some of that at a future meeting. It's important. It's something that we have to do to help keep our kids safe. And so I'm thankful for Voices for Children, and I'll have a presentation for you at a later date, hopefully. I'd like to give you a little bit of an update on, we've had some conversation about Mary Crapo, and there was a council meeting a couple weeks ago that became mildly contentious. There was an insinuation from Communities First that there would be a Phase 2 plan which would impact what we had originally known as the green space that was going to be preserved through the project. We have since gotten confirmation that there is not plans to move forward on a Phase 2 project there. The green space would be preserved. In fact, there's actually conversations with the city about a long-term lease agreement to make that a permanent park facility for community use to keep the green space intact. So that was something that we felt strongly about, and we've heard from community members as well, and so we were excited to hear that resolution. So the city is well aware and working towards that goal. I also want to let everybody know that Tuesday, April 28th, is a save the date. We have our parent night that will be coming up. That is going to be a very important night for resources, an opportunity for parents to get some, not only community resources, but network together. We're going to feed everybody. And so we're going to have a lot more details coming out. But just as a save the date, Tuesday, April 28th is going to be our first, what we hope will be many more parent resource nights. I also want to say, I know it's been about a month since we had our incident in Washington, D.C. There's been a lot of media coverage about it with our students who witnessed a shooting in Washington, D.C. on a field trip. And certainly we've done a great job as a staff at our middle school. Our middle school staff deserves a lot of kudos. I know that they're here tonight. One of the things that was really striking to me was the chaperones and the adults who were there that kept the kids safe. To see the people who responded in the way that they did, they utilized some of the training that they had received from this county in terms of how we respond to active shooting cases. I received countless emails from many of the adult individuals who are in this room tonight, and I know if I start naming names, there'll be several that I forget, so I won't do that. But we have really good people here that put kids first. And it's an honor to work with them. And so I thank the middle school staff and Mrs. Corbett and her efforts through that whole situation. And so many of them are going to be here to share a lot of other positive things, and they won't toot their own horn. But they did a fantastic job in that incident and working through that. So Swartz Creek is a good place to be. That's all I have.
I would second that. I would also say that Voices for Children is an amazing organization. So
They are.
if you can bring them in, that would be great.
Absolutely.
For people
we'll
who
do
may
that.
not be aware of what they do, and maybe bring some resources to us.
For sure. I'd be happy to.
Great. Okay, thank you, Ben. All right, we also have board subcommittee reports. Policy, Brian.
Policy met Monday morning at 0700. We reviewed all the current Neola policies. We prepared for second reading of the updated Neola policies scheduled for today at the board meeting. We had discussion, comments, and questions and recommendations. Student board representative policy discussion, we reviewed that, we discussed it. We have a draft copy of the student board representation policy, and we recommend that draft copy with the updates. Policies for purchasing, we recommended the changes. Policy 6440, cooperative purchasing, that would be to amend and remove paragraphs 2 and 3. And then policy 6460, 6440, 6320, amend and add the following language. The superintendent shall be responsible for approving service contracts within the board approved budget. Student service contracts agreements of $100,000 or more shall be approved by the Board of Education. Administrative name changes, we've got policies that have personal names attached to them, and they are to be amended to professional positions unless it's required by law to have a person individually named. We had no public comment, and then we are adjourned. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. All right, we did also have on Monday morning academic achievement. We're in the process of planning the family resource night that Ben mentioned. I would also add that in addition to the resources and valuable information that will be presented or available to the community, there'll be food and prizes, and also childcare / activities available, correct, for families who might want to bring their children. We are going to contact many community resources to invite them to attend, and then they'll be set up in the Performing Arts Center lobby so that people can go through, they might grab their food, go through there, get some information. It'll be, I think, an opportunity for people to get exposed to some community groups where they might need help or they have interest in the things that they provide. And then, hopefully people will take some time. You'll be past the spring break and the weather should be improving, so hopefully we'll get a good turnout. And that was pretty much it. I don't think there was anything else to share there. So are there any questions, any ideas, any suggestions before we go much further? Katie Prier's doing a nice job of documenting everything. And Jessica and I will be locking arms for the community resources. All right. You wanna go to finance?
Yes, finance also met on Monday. We received the cash and investment summary, which are in your packet for review. The check register for February has been reviewed in the following letter. General fund, 131 checks in the amount of $340,770.61. Payroll fund, 22 checks, $2,480,260.62. Cafeteria fund, 5 checks, $93,740.11. Student activity fund, 43 checks for $33,710.14. Bond project fund, 4 checks for $881,173.56. The Deacon Gaines roof bids package. Deacon Gaines roof bids and the developmental region assessments bids have been received and will be voted on tonight. Middle school remodeling bid packet is scheduled to go out later this month. The asbestos removal bids for the elementary schools are out and are due in on March 18th. Recent major expenditures include high school camera server in the amount of $11,989, 215 Chromebooks at $286 each for a total of $61,490. They were purchased off the Renzi state contract, and that did include the Microsoft license. The bond change order log has been reviewed with no additions from last month at that time. There was a discussion regarding the proposed yearly audit fee for the year for 2021 for $15,200. This includes a cursory check of the bond project funds, and at the end of the bond project, an in-depth audit will be performed upon the completion. There was bond finance discussion. We are still in good shape and within budget. We also had discussion regarding the middle school pool. During spring break, that pool will be drained in an attempt to identify the cause of the leaking and to try to determine a cost to have it repaired. There were no public comments, and we adjourned at 10:14. Any questions?
I don't know if it's a finance question, but the high school camera server, is that extending our capabilities of recording? Do you know?
Yes.
Okay.
It's allowing, with the new high definition cameras that we purchased with the new bond, the security cameras have extensive bandwidth, and so the videos are higher capacity, so our servers have to be upgraded to be able to store the appropriate amount of time,
How many days will they store?
up to 30.
Currently, they were only 2. Found that out.
Any other questions for
They'll just
Mike?
rewrite themselves.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.
Welcome.
All right, Chuck, building and site.
Building and site, okay, we started the meeting at 4:10 PM. We talked about the pool boiler, it was replaced and it's working. It took a little bit more hours and labor to fix it, but it was done and it's holding its temperature. There's no worries with that except for the leak in the pool. We went on to the Gaines easement in the Lion Club house that needs to be sold. Argentine Township has approved a split for the Lions Club building on our property, and we are waiting on completion of the Gaines Township side of it because they have to do the easement portion, the rights portion of it, because it lies on 2 pieces of property. RC is gonna meet with them and anticipates meeting with them sometime in the next week or so and finish up the remaining paperwork and bring it forward to the next meeting, and hopefully we can complete this transaction and sell the property to them. Any questions so far? Next thing are the cameras. The Wi-Fi on the buses have been installed. All the cameras on the buses will now have Wi-Fi capability instead of having an SD card. That way they'll be downloaded immediately if there's any incidences reported instead of having to retrieve the SD card. Concerns were raised by Brian, Mike, and myself about how long does the SD card record, and it's only 4 days. So our recommendation to the general board is that we want to go up to 2 weeks of recording or modify the system for more storage. That way if there's a complaint delayed over the weekend or if the buses are used on field trips, then they eat up more space. We might not even have 4 full days on them. And when a specific date is downloaded, though, within the 4-day format, we normally have it indefinitely. And there's going to be 4 cameras on each buses with audio capability now. Brian also asked about swipe card capability in the near future, so that the students can have a swipe card, so they can be, I guess, accounted for more thoroughly, and maybe the parents can even find out where they're at. I think that's what you said, Brian.
Yeah.
But RC is going to look on the cost on that and see what that will entail. So far, so good. Okay. Next thing was the middle school light test. RC's putting up lights on some of the, or at least on one of the buildings, or one of the classrooms in the hall, for testing purposes to decide which lights will be best used in building districts throughout the district, and that these lights will be able to be accessed remotely for cost savings and better lighting conditions for the students and staff. And then we went on to cleaning of the tunnels for the tornado tunnels. There's tons of miscellaneous education material and other equipment in tornado shelters, too much in all. It has accumulated over the years and is not really safe. Reconstruction also occurring. Some cooling and miscellaneous pipes need to be placed in the shelters and halls. The pipes will still allow the children and staff to still utilize the shelters, though, when they put the pipes in the reconstruction of it. I don't know who brought this up, but it's happening. The district is hiring a firm to dispose of any unwanted equipment or material not needed anymore by the district. The material will be stored at the Mary Crapo facility instead of off-site at the company. Will be categorized and open to public auction. It was noted that the company normally stores material at their site. However, special arrangements were made to store and sell it here, so it has better access to our residents, citizens, and taxpayers. Some of the equipment may be donated or scrapped, and the remainder of supplies will be reallocated to the schools when construction is completed. I just don't recall the name of the firm.
Bittergy is the name.
Bittergy.
They come in to help us process an actual auction. They'll take photos of all the equipment, and that way we'll be able to have a sale for our residents or
Right.
anyone in the public.
Good. And the next thing was the custodial service contract. Lengthy conversation on future custodial services. The current supervisor with our current contract is leaving that firm. This individual has done an outstanding job for the district. Ben has suggested we hire our own manager to maintain a high standard, and prior suggestions from board members, myself and other board members on the board, and 2 options of some cost workups and have been worked up and will be explored for possibly having an alternative plan. But right now, the manager that's working for the current firm is leaving, so, and he's been kind of holding it together for us, is my understanding. And then the last item was the cage. Invitations being sent to cage officials to discuss future rental of this facility at the building committee, and then will be presented to the full board for recommendations on future use of this facility and ways to better meet the needs of the community and residents. And the meeting ended at 5:10 p.m., so we got a lot accomplished in an hour.
Any questions for Chuck? Just a comment. The question and the discussion about the swipe cards on the buses. I like that idea, especially from a safety perspective, and I'd be interested if, like a bus pass, if you swipe in, if they could also swipe out, if that would help with our people accounting at the end of the day, make sure that all buses are cleared as well. So, just a suggestion.
Can I, yeah, according to RC, that was the big purpose of that.
Yep.
So they swipe in, get on the bus, and then when they get off, they swipe, so we know that everybody's exited.
Absolutely. Yep, it's a great idea.
So do even young children have a card that could be swiped?
I know, I was thinking about that, 5, 6
Or would they have?
Yeah, a lot of times what happens, school districts that do that, they have kind of a clip that goes on their backpack, and they, you know, sometimes make it, put it in a little pouch, and it's been done before, so, yeah.
I would add to that, RC and Stacy Witt, finance director back, had looked into that a few years ago, and he is going to bring it up, freshen it up, and then bring it to the next meeting. And it would keep track of the time the child gets on, and when he gets off. That should alleviate anybody getting left on the bus. And I don't think we got the answer, but question came up, or I think maybe I asked it. I was told about this system from a bus driver from Texas, and their system, the parent can get into that app and can check to make sure his child is there. I don't know what RC has looked at will do that, but he's gonna check into it. So I think it would be a absolute plus for the district if we can afford it.
Right.
Do we know how long that affects typically, the time that it takes to, how much time does it add to a route? Pick up and drop off, like, amount of time, because you got kids swiping, like, the average, what's the additional amount of time? Do we know what that
It's pretty
calculation?
small. The longest times would be when they're picking them up from the schools. So if you think about an elementary school who's coming on, you have a massive amount coming on at once. So that's probably the place where you'd see the most, but usually at a bus stop you have 5, 6 students getting off at a time, and it's pretty quick, so you know, you go right by and swipe at it. But that's a good question, you know, something we could ask.
Isn't that what they do at the lunchtime? Don't they do that? Don't they swipe if they got money in their account?
They use a numbered system, so they have a keypad that they put their school number account.
Does that slow things down much?
No.
So I would ask that you comment during public comment, if you don't mind.
Can I inject something here? Would RFID be applicable to this rather than have kids swiping something?
So can we do that in public comment later?
Okay, sure.
Thank you, just to be fair to everybody. All right, appreciate it, but I do look forward to that comment.
The cards may be RFID, we don't know that yet.
Yeah, we don't.
RC's gonna look into the 2 types of cost
But
programs.
thank you.
And
All
then-
right.
And then, just help answer that, and then the cards were also suggested by Brian, I believe, at the committee, that maybe we put them at the school too, so the parent could see if the child, you know, transitioned from the bus to school, not so much to track them like a GPS, but they can see that their child put the card when they walked into school. I think in that way, it would maybe alleviate some issues, so. But when RC brings it back, we'll bring it back to the committee or to the board to see what the cost is.
The safety gates for the high school parking lot and the
They're
middle
gonna
school
do that.
parking lot will also have some RFID capabilities, so there's a lot of different potential here.
Okay,
Mhm.
we're so lucky to have that technology.
Mhm.
All right, thanks Chuck. All right, moving on, we have several board discussion items, beginning with our middle school presentation.
Good evening. Hi, I'm Michelle Corbett. I know most of you here. I'm the principal of the middle school, and I'm not going to talk very much because, as you can see, we have a lot of people here to share some great things that are happening at the middle school. Very proud to be the principal of the middle school. I could literally stand here for hours and tell you about amazing things that are happening, from our NJHS to our student council to our Blueberry group. But we're going to highlight a few things tonight that earlier this year I came and spoke about the Positivity Project and Other People Matter. And so our web leaders are here, and they will touch on that because their work corresponds perfectly with our initiatives in that area of Other People Matter. We also have Maureen Ahern. She's going to talk about her work around our attendance improvement initiative, and she's got some exciting things to share with you about that. And we have, as Mr. Manka highlighted in his opening remarks, some of our sixth graders here with Mrs. Bealby and Mrs. Swales, and they're going to talk about their work with the Kettering Young Innovators Project. And we have a person here who is moving on to Henry Ford. So they'll talk about that. So as I started, like I said, millions of things we could highlight. We have a lot of pictures in this, and I'll make sure I send this to you, Joanne. From how we started the year with staff coming in, doing cleanup, our eco group who was here, I'm sure they would have participated, had their club formed before that. To our NJHS, you can see in the top left corner, they went over to one of our senior facilities right in the community and spent some time with our seniors doing their nails and playing games, and it was a win-win on both sides. To our student council, who has been all over the community helping with homeless and helping with animals and all kinds of events. And at this point, I am going to turn this over to Mr. Murphy and Mrs. Francis and Mrs. Loader. They are our teacher web leaders, Mr. Murphy and Mrs. Francis. I'd also love to give a shout out, as Mr. Manka also mentioned, we're DC chaperones, and we are so thankful for them and the other teacher and parent chaperones. They took an event that was pretty serious and traumatic, and I'm very proud of how they handled that. So,
just to piggyback off that, I was going to say something too. The amount of respect that I have for my colleagues is through the roof anyways, but to see how they reacted in the heat of the moment is just something I'll never forget. And I live out of district, and I can't wait to bring my kids to Swartz Creek because I know the teachers that we have here care about our kids. So it was amazing to watch our staff jump into action really, really fast. So we should all be very proud of how everybody acted. I mean, even our parent chaperones that were there were amazing. We couldn't have made it happen. That was a big hurdle to jump, after that happened. And the way we kind of got together, and then we got together with the parent chaperones and made it one of the best 8th grade trips ever. So it was really good. But okay, so my name's Dan Murphy, 8th grade science teacher, also one of the web coordinators along with Lisa Loader and Aaron Francis. But my job is to kind of just give you a rundown of what web is. Web is an acronym where everybody belongs. This is a mentoring program where our upperclassmen, our 8th graders, are assigned our underclassmen, 6th graders, and that's who they're going to be mentors. So 8th grade mentoring 6th graders. We have broken down, we have 43 current 8th grade web leaders. We have broken them down into groups of 3 to 4, and we put them into groups based on their interests, their skills, their personality. We try to get them mixed up as best we can for, kind of combine strength and weaknesses with them. So we have 43 of them. So we have, and then we have, each of those groups have about 15 to 20 6th graders that they're mentoring. My wife is a 5th grade teacher at Moorish, so I hear it an awful lot about how scared these 5th graders are to make that jump from elementary to middle school. And this is a program that should really, really help that transition. For these 5th graders, knowing that they're going to come into 6th grade, knowing that they've got a large group of kids that are there and they have their back and they're ready to support them and make their transition as smooth as possible and as successful as possible, has got to be to put their mind at ease. These 8th graders, in order to become a web leader, they had to apply. They had to go through an application process. They went through a really stringent interview process with all 3 of us. Then after they were selected, then we put them through some training in the summer to kind of put them through some situations, things that they're going to see. Said, it is a lot of fun and games, it's a lot of relationships, but you are going to hear and deal with some heavy situations because these kids are going to connect with you. They're going to feel, that comfort to want to talk to you. So these kids have put in a lot of time and effort to get ready to do this. We do stress academics, and obviously grades are very, very important. But to become a web leader, we need kids that are empathetic, kids that are very mature, kids that are responsible. I mean, we put a lot of responsibility on these kids. But above all, we need kids that just want to make our school better, that want to make our community better. And this is a program that I think that if we continue to do this, the sky is the limit. Last year, the web leaders were presented with a question like, hey, what words can you guys come up with that would represent what web is? And they came up, actually go back one, Mrs. Porter, please. And so we call these the pillars of leadership, and we've kind of built off of that. And again, these are coming from 8th graders last year, and they came up with this. And the 3 that they came up with were commitment, responsibility, and relationships. So that's what we base everything around, are those 3 things. And if we could just look closely at this picture here, relationships. This was the first time that we met, our 8th graders met our 6th graders at our, what was it, the orientation, sorry, orientation. It was very loud in the gym, they're playing games, and this young man was out of his element, and he wasn't having it. But we had one of our web leaders took it upon himself to go up and comfort him in a very uncomforting situation for him. And I think that picture just kind of exemplifies what web's all about. But it's, actually go to the next one slide, please. So instead of me telling you what we think what commitment, responsibility, and relationships mean, we had one of our current web leaders just kind of write a paragraph about it. And if you'll notice, he hits all 3 of these pillars in here. But web is full of commitment, respect, and responsibility. Web puts 8th graders in challenging leadership roles and helps make connections between 6th and 8th graders. Web constantly challenges the leaders with different types of situations and hold them to a higher standard. For example, web leaders should have their assignments turned in on time and with quality work. Web leaders should always be respectful to staff and their community. Web leaders should always be setting a good example even when nobody's around. Leaders have been there, leaders have to be there for their 6th graders at all times, mentally, physically, and emotionally. Leaders are trusted to be in the classroom by themselves with the 6th graders and are trusted to take care of stressful and difficult situations responsibly. And again, this was Jesse Hart, a current 8th grade web leader.
So Lisa Loader, I'm currently working on my 10th year as the art teacher at the middle school, so I'm very proud about that. These are some 6th grade perspectives, some quotes directly from the 6th graders about their experience in web. And it is all about those relationships between our 6th graders and our 8th graders, our 8th graders and us, and then even moving further with staff and then community. And we asked a few of actually all of our web leaders to reflect on how they think the web program is affecting the community at large and affecting them personally. And we have 3 students here who have very bravely offered to read what they wrote. The first person that's coming up is Kamila Moore.
Web impacts our community by changing in and out of school behavior. Web allows incoming 6th graders to get comfortable around the middle school without feeling neglected. Web also impacts the community by showing other people matter and no one is not alone.
Good job. Real quick, if I can interject. I've had Kamila the last 2 years. Kamila would have never ever done that last year. She would, if we would have asked her to come and speak in front of the board, she would have probably thrown something at me. But this is the confidence that these kids are getting from working with kids every day, and talking to kids and talking to parents and things like that. Probably sweet.
Jayla Evans, please come on.
I can't say the same thing about Jayla.
Jayla, there were 2 questions asked. How is web? How do you feel web is impacting the community, and how is web impacting you personally? Do you want to share on one of those?
I'll share what is what to you. Web is where you feel loved and when you grow to become a better person. It's like a group of supporters that would ever give up on you. Web is a group full of kids that's hardworking, responsible people, and role models, leaders, and young adults of the school that can impact people's behavior by showing how to be a web leader or to be a leader. Web is a whole new world that can change a new generation that comes into our school.
And last but certainly not least is Josh Breach.
Web impacts our 6th graders by showing them that they have people that are there for them. And I think that impacts the parents too, because when kids are going home and talking to the parents like, hey, I have someone that's there for me. I think it just puts ease on parents knowing that, you know, I do have someone who's looking after my 6th grader.
Francis. This is my 17th year. And the thing that I find very interesting with Web is that we have kids. And what we need to understand is that these kids have amazing power. And the power that they have is that they can impact the kids around them, which is their friendships. They have the power to impact the adults around them, which is the relationship that they have with the teachers. And they have the power to impact the community that they're involved in. So these kids as leaders, a great idea has happened just this fall when we had a 6th grader that was at a football game out in the community, and a situation came up. And the 6th grader ended up finding a Web leader because they weren't for sure on how to take care of that situation. And a Web leader decided to kind of help them through that. These kids have so much power to change culture. And that's what's needing to happen within the school walls, because that's what these kids are asking for. They don't want the bullying. They want things to change so that way they can have a safe place to be. They want to do that learning, leading, growing. They have the vision of creating a place that is safe for everybody, where everybody does in fact belong, that they can create change, and that they can hopefully inspire other people to do the same thing. So this program is absolutely amazing. It's one of my favorite parts of the day. It's changing me as an educator. It's changing my colleagues as educators. And I honestly, it's the best thing that is happening within our school, with a lot of the other best things that are happening within our school, I must say. So you'll see that there's an impact that happens all the time. Some of our Web leader perspectives, we challenge them to grow. We challenge them to think about what their actions do. We challenge them to think about what their words do. And we challenge them to think about other people. So, Web, it is where everybody's supposed to belong. And it's pretty amazing how the back of our shirts say, "We've got your back." And I only had 3 kids up here talking, but I have numerous people here that are coming up here to support them, because that's what Web is about. We create that community, because that's what Swartz Creek's about. We create that community, and that's what you want, and that's what you cultivate. So, I love you guys. It's a great thing. Thank you.
And now Mrs. Ahern is going to touch on the attendance improvement program and how we are working to get our kids to school every day on time.
Some of you have heard a little bit of this already, but we have some new ideas, and I'm going to let you know how we're faring. I'm going to start out here, this first part of the handout. Melissa Titsworth put this together for Dragon Time, and she made the proposal to our Dragon Time teachers that they could use this in their lesson to track attendance, so it would teach the students how to use PowerPoint and find their missing assignments. I didn't use that. So she presented this to our staff, and she also made a presentation to our GISD attendance task force that we attend. So we initially give the students a copy of the attendance policy, and then they have the calendar on there that has a visual that we ask them to keep track. A lot of times when I talk to them initially, and I'll say, "How many days do you think you've missed?" And they're always way low of what they actually are. So by keeping track of their own, they have that constant connection of what they're accumulating or not. And the back page on that are questions. I use that as a start when I pull the student to talk to them. I have a place to start with them and see what's going on with their home life or what's going on at school. Kind of gives me an idea of where to start where their attendance is lacking. We have 3 incentives that we have. A couple of them we've used since I started, but we include educational process through the whole thing, so it's not just getting them to school. Our first thing is the individual, where students that have perfect attendance or are missing 1 day or have 1 tardy are put into a drawing, and then I draw 2 students' names from each class. And I really like this part of the program because it isn't always your high achievers. It's most of the time students that are just amazed that they've gotten something. Just last month I had a student said, I never won anything in my whole life. And he was so excited, and then I tell him, well, you really didn't win it, you earned it. You earned to be in the drawing. So I like that aspect of it. The students each sign thank you cards, so thank you cards are sent out to our sponsors, and I have a handful of students that have really completely turned around, and they are now coming every day, and when that happens, then I send out brag and dragon cards to their parents. So I will tell the student, you know, I'm really proud of you, and I'm letting your parents know, and I'm sending them a card home. So not only are they expecting the card, but then they can wait for their parent to get the card. The second part is the classroom aspect, where classrooms that have 95% or better attendance for the month. These are monthly drawings. We have a flag that the winning classroom for the lunch gets this banner that hangs outside their door for the month, just to let the other classrooms know that that was the winning classroom for the month. Students also send thank you cards for the lunches. Again, I try and use tablecloths. We have centerpieces. I really try to make it special for the students. They enjoy this, and they work hard to get back in the drawing for the next month. This is our attendance board that is down by the attendance office. The students that win every month, their name is on the board, along with the teacher that has the winning class with their percentage, and on the right is our sponsors. And that stays up every month. I just add to it so students can go by and are reminded. A new program that we have. Last year we had 1 class that hit 99%, and that was in June, I think? January. This year so far we have 4 classes, and I know there's one from February, but I'm still calculating that data. So if your class hits 99%, Mrs. Corbett has been so gracious to supply donuts and milk for that class that hits 99%, and they've been pretty excited about the donuts and milk. We have 1 class, Mr. Hawkins' class is working very hard to get on the tall ship apple door, and that was if a class had 100% for the marking, we need to talk about that, but marking period, or it was initially the semester, but our semester takes us too far out into the summer, so. But that's the only class that's close to winning that. And another new thing we have is our prize patrol cart. This cart, there's a small group of us that can grab this cart, and you take it down the hallway, and when the bell rings, you ask the teacher to wait in the hallway, and the door is closed. So the teacher in the hallway is waiting for tardy students, and the students in the classroom, you draw 3. I use numbers I just pull numbers from, they're all assigned a Chromebook number, so they know what their numbers are, and I just pick 3 numbers out of my head. The students can pick something off our cart. We have t-shirts, we have Swartz lanyards, there's passes to get to the front of the lunch line, there are creek tickets where you can put it in for a drawing and you get a piece of candy. We have candy, we have a lot of books, So the kids really get excited when you stand at the end of the hallway and they're, oh, are you coming to my room? And I said, you know, we don't let them know because then they're gonna race to class. I also included in that paper the individual winners. I know you guys like to get out of here, so Joanne, if you could please make sure that that gets out. I won't read them. The individual sponsors for our students, we had Buster, our therapy dog, which is Mr. and Mrs. Brown. Spooky Trails, the PTO donated gift cards. The Dive Shop donated a lesson, and then the students got to actually dive in the pool with tanks. And Mr. Scott Wright, our varsity boys basketball coach, he donated this year's basketball shirts, the design shirts. And I have Hometown Days has committed to tickets, so we have a day passes for the Hometown Days. And Mr. and Mrs. Mike Clark have given gift cards. The lunch winners, you also have that list in there with the percentage of the teacher. And the sponsors for my lunch were JT's Country Kitchen. The Swartz Creek United Methodist Church had walking tacos. The Swartz Creek Nazarene Church had a taco bar. County Commissioner Ted Henry brought in, and Swartz Creek Board Trustee Chuck Melke had the last lunch, so thank you.
Nice. And
committed for lunch, the middle school PTO, Swartz Creek Board Treasurer Mike Ahern, and I have an anonymous donor for another lunch. So not only do I track the students because they want to know what's going on, I also track the teachers, but not quite to the extent. So up until this point, we have 8. Mr. Bernardi, Ms. Brownfield, Ms. Dean, Mr. Hawken, Ms. Murdoch, Ms. Young, Ms. Hawken, and Mr. Nolan. So those are our perfect attendance for our staff. And okay, any questions?
I do, Lorraine. So the checklist that you provided on the back here.
Right.
The kids fill this out in confidence, or, I mean, I'm concerned if they were to answer more than once to some of these things, or even once to some of these things, what's our plan then? Where does this information go?
I just keep it in their file when I use it, so if it progresses and we have to use it as a future date, this gives me a reference. And basically, if the Dragon Time teacher does it, the student keeps it themselves.
So I'm looking at, I do not feel safe walking to school, or there may be hygiene concerns or of their own.
Right.
There may be that they don't know if anybody would even notice if they weren't there. Those are kind of alarming if somebody was to say that was a concern, and that's what stops them from going to school.
Right, and I can tell you, yes, I have had students tell me a couple of those. And so it's things that I can either deal with myself, or I pass them on to the counselor, or I pass it on to Mrs. Corbett or Mrs.
So it's
Titsworth.
going
So it doesn't
somewhere.
just,
It's going somewhere.
it
Okay,
just
that's
doesn't stay with me,
good.
but that's my place to
Okay.
start and talk to them to find out what's going on.
Good.
great
We
data
have
to collect.
It is, it is.
We have supplied alarm clocks. So, you know, we try and take care of those easy ones.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Any
it
other
is.
questions?
Thank you
I
very
have a
much.
comment. I'm a pediatric nurse. I get these phone calls about whether I should go to school or not every single day. That's my life. This is fantastic. Does this go home with every student?
It
or-
is on our webpage for the
Okay.
middle school, and it's also hanging on my attendance bulletin board.
I'm making a poster of this for my clinic. So this is like, this is perfect. Very well done.
And I also use that when I call parents, and they would say, you know, when do you want me to keep my child home? And I'll say,
It's very, very
there
good.
we go. Thank you. Anything else?
Nice work,
Great
Lorraine.
job.
Appreciate it.
Wrapping it up, bring it home. Mrs. Swales, Mrs. Bealdy, they're gonna talk about Kettering Young Innovators.
Mrs. Bilby. So, Kettering Young Innovators Program is about developing innovators or inventors and that creative mindset in young individuals. It's a partnership with Kettering University, obviously. We start this project typically in October. This is our 6th year being involved with Kettering. We've got a great partnership with them. They actually look to us now for guidance and direction as they reevaluate their program this next year. The students are supposed to come up with a solution to something in their life or in their community that they would like to improve upon. They don't necessarily have to come up with a new invention, but the idea is to improve upon something to make life better. So they have that task to find a solution. They have to research to make sure that their idea is new, does not exist. And then they have to follow that up with a design process, they create the design, they present, do a presentation board, and then they fill out a rather extensive application in order to apply to attend the Kettering Fair. One of the things we do in our district is we hold STEM nights in our individual buildings that are participating, and this year we had 3 buildings participate. In the past it had been Deke. This year, with Kelly moving into the middle school, she took the program with her there, and we had a teacher at Elms Elementary, Marty Lehman, who took on the task at her building as well. It's a rather arduous task, not only for the students but for the teachers, because it takes about 4 months to go through the entire process. It is extensive. The one nice thing about it is that it ties not only into STEM, but it can tie into ELA, because it touches on that informational writing component and the research components that the students need. So we've learned to partner with our ELA teachers, and with our STEM as well, so we carry it to both. We had, in this district, how many did we have from the middle school apply?
We had 146 students apply
from the
middle school. There were countywide 900 student applications. So 18 of our middle schoolers were chosen to participate. Other than Perry Innovation Center, which is its own little entity, we were the first middle school in the county invited to participate. Students are judged, their models and their applications are judged by a panel of local community and business leaders. So there's the pictures there of the different people judging their applications. And from that point, they have the opportunity to move on to the Michigan Invention Convention. And this year, we had 3 middle schoolers moving on to the state competition. And from there, if they get chosen, they go to the National Invention Convention, which is actually a more international thing. We had our first STEAM night at the middle school. We had a great turnout. It was actually on our last snow day, and we decided to go ahead and go with it. And we were keeping our fingers crossed that people would show up, and we had a huge turnout, so we were super proud of that. Our STEAM night, we had science represented. There were students there showing off art projects, and Project Lead the Way projects were showcased as well. And this is just some pictures from the day of the Kettering Young Innovators Fair, which was actually yesterday. So students go, and for the first couple hours, they are there with all the other students in the county that got chosen, and they showcase their inventions, and different community members and school districts from around the county come in, and they talk to the students about their inventions. Channel 12 is usually there, Channel 25, the local newspaper. Then in the afternoon, the students get to tour Kettering, and they get to actually go into the labs and do things. So in these pictures, they're doing DNA testing. In the past, they get to go in the first robotics arena and do stomp rockets. They had an escape room that they did yesterday. Good opportunity for them. And then we have 2 students here that are going to just quickly present their projects. This is Vance, and this is Jaden. She was picked to go to the state competition. Let's go first.
That's great.
Okay.
Okay, so, problem that I'm trying to solve is people dying from dehydration in desert areas. So how it works is it's solar powered up on the top, and it will collect water through the humidity in the air. And then when it gets collected, it will run through this tube down into here, and right inside of here is a filtration system. So after it goes through, it will go inside of this bucket, and whenever the people that need water want to drink it, they can pour it in a cup or just drink it right through here. Anybody have any questions?
So it's a dehumidifier, but ran by solar power?
Yep.
How did you come up with that idea?
Well, I see ads on the commercials and on my phone, and it's like, I see lots of people suffering down in like Africa, Australia, so I wanted to prevent that from happening.
Good for you.
Has it worked? Have you got it to work?
The solar power
close?
doesn't work,
Yeah.
but it does work.
Okay,
When I plug it in, it actually works, yeah.
right. When are you gonna get the solar power fixed up?
When he gets the money.
You're gonna sell a lot of those.
Yeah.
You're gonna help people, but that'll be a big thing, a solar powered dehumidifier.
Yeah.
Good for you.
What's your last name?
Heard.
So it's gonna be the Herd Company that's out there producing all of these. We'll look for you in the future.
You gotta figure out how to work them in the basement, pipe the sunlight down there, and you'll sell millions of them. We have a lot of wet basements here. That's where you should be concentrating first.
Nice job, bud.
Nice
Good
job,
job.
guys.
Thank you.
Good
Good for you.
job.
Their projects take quite a beating from all the transporting back and forth to the different events, so at this point, they're a little, is there straight to-
Oh, I like that, all right.
Our building and site guy's getting excited.
Let's get some of those.
So hi, I'm Jane Ho, and I invented the vacuum snowplow. So it's basically like a everyday snowplow that you see on the roads, like but there's like I don't know, it heats up the snow and the ice, and it travels through these tubes, and it has salt, and it like, I forgot the word, I'm sorry, I'm really nervous.
You're doing just
Take
fine.
your time.
So it puts salt into the water, because when you put enough salt into water, it won't freeze again. And so because of the suction of the vacuum, the water will go into this tank, and it'll be hot, and it'll be rotating because of the suction of the vacuum, and there would be a turbine inside, and it would be spinning along with the water, and it would make hydroelectricity for the truck to power itself.
Wow. Great job.
I have a quick question. Will it be nicer and easier on our roads too? Because it sucks it up instead of
Yeah,
scraping it up?
that's what I was thinking
You
too,
just
yeah.
fixed the dang road. Every adult got that comment. Nice job.
It would be mostly like helpful in like big cities where there's not enough room for the snow on the side of the roads, and stuff
Right.
like Chicago and New York and stuff like that. And I also researched, they put some of the snow in the big cities, they put it into rivers and lakes, and that pollutes the rivers because of the chemicals and the salt that they put on to melt the snow. That pollutes the lakes, and it kills like plant life and animal life in the lakes.
So now you need to see if you can purify the water, and then you can work with the gentleman behind you. It'll be the whole Herd Company.
Wow.
Very nice. Very nice.
Great job.
So I know we took more than our suppose it a lot of time. Are there any questions that you have for us?
Good job.
Thank you.
Good job.
Appreciate the time to
Thank you so much,
showcase
Michelle.
some of the greatness that's happening at Swartz Creek Middle School.
And thanks to
Thank you.
all of the educators, the children,
you,
the
guys.
students, thank you so much. We're gonna take a 5-minute break, and if you need to head out, you can feel free to do so, or you can stay.
Wow, they canceled the big teacher. Well, they didn't cancel that, they canceled the public part of it.
It's,
I know.
you know what? I have a question. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks. Nice job. Very nice job. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Grandma's a preacher.
Amazing.
Amazing.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks so much. Thanks for being here. How are you? Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Ryan. That's a great program.
What's going on, man?
Thank you, man. Great job. Look at that. You're the whole spin around. Good job. Amazing. Isn't that impressive? Yeah, it's awesome. Very, very impressive. I think we do. You need to swipe right back.
Myself organized.
Great picture. This side. There you go, exactly. Thank you, Mrs. Loader. Ready? 1, 2, 3. One more.
Stay there.
I think it's well, see, I want to, my public comment, so my board comment would be.
No, I was not.
That's what people do.
Nice job, everyone.
See, I was just saying, I think my board comment would be, this is the kind of board I want to attend. I want to do all that stuff. And it sparks what we need to focus on and support.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if something happens, but I haven't gotten anything.
Yeah, that makes sense, but, also remind me to ask you about
No.
I haven't heard that yet.
Flabbergasted. I'm waiting for my kid to
see if we could start that.
She's gonna get some home. School's gonna shut down.
Oh, I got it. Thank you, though. You want to stick around?
You too, thanks.
Become a super senior?
Yeah.
I don't
To
get
plant
it.
the seeds.
I'm like,
Yeah, that's
they
what
all went when they had.
Right.
we were supposed to start it this year, but the teacher was gonna go before it.
Right. That was happening for a while, right?
Yeah, I started.
In anticipation. That's it.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
there aren't
Yeah.
even.
No, just two in the thing.
Did you end up?
Who aren't in college.
Right.
So I just, I don't get it.
The,
Did you like happen to drive past one?
oh yeah. I mean,
Yeah, I lived through,
yesterday.
I was part of the
Yeah,
whole
yesterday.
9/11, the anthrax, all of that.
Pretty fast.
Like, we didn't even,
That one, I'm assuming.
The big church.
we didn't do anything until we were like
I think it's, what is it?
prepped and
The,
bags packed.
United Methodist. Supposed to be United Methodist.
It's just, it's a media hype, it's so.
The big one on
For some reason.
No.
No?
It's on
I might be able to sleep, I'm so flabbergasted, I can't believe it.
I have
Okay.
Maybe it is
$960
No,
worth
not
of
Miller.
non-refundable hotel.
Okay, you passed Dairy Queen. It's like the road
Just
down
think of the businesses
or
there.
the old Dairy Queen.
Well, that's why, I'm glad I got my travel insurance.
Seafood there.
Bars, everybody was
Okay.
stocked
Yeah,
up for
but
this.
I
week.
also
It's
would-
ridiculous.
Ready to go, start tomorrow.
Well, the two games are being played right now.
Mr. Rearman didn't teach us this.
I don't get it.
Yeah, our friends are texting and saying, are you on your way? Are you on your way? Are you, because they've already canceled all.
Yeah.
You okay?
I don't know what
Yeah.
precinct I was.
No, we're gonna go at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning.
What's your voting location?
I don't get
So
it.
mine
Where
is
you going?
actually near Grand Blanc.
nowhere
They-
now.
They canceled public attendance at the Big Ten basketball conference or championship.
So you're not going?
No, but I have a hotel room if you want it. A very nice hotel.
Where at?
Downtown Indy, the Alexander.
Was it an exciting experience?
It's in walking distance. I said campsite, so I can just park and walk all weekend.
Yeah.
I know, it just irritates the bejesus out of me.
Like, I get, in a way, like, the only thing that would really make me nervous right now would be like an airplane. You're small, enclosed. That doesn't even, I'm like, we're planning in January, and we have a paid cruise, thank God I got travel insurance. But,
You can get off a plane, cruise ship or stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
but there's open air, and it's a lot bigger. I just figured like
You're not
recirculating
breathing,
air
you're not
inside
breathing
the.
healthy air in an airplane, even if no one's sick.
Right, that's what I mean.
Really?
I'm like,
What are
that's
you
like
breathing
you
in
talk
there?
about an incubator, I mean, I feel like that is,
Exhaust.
yeah, I mean, it's,
Yeah, that's so true. You know that. I know, I'm so irritated.
honestly, my cruise is one of the cleanest places I've ever stayed. You
What
have to wash
cruise line?
in, wash out. I've done Carnival and Royal Caribbean, and our next one's Disney.
Oh, wow. Just the two of you or the four of you?
Which one? So the first one was,
The one coming up.
the one coming up is the four of us with my brother, sister-in-law, and their two kids, and my mom and dad. So there's 10 of us. My favorite cruise was the one I just took, just me and my husband.
When did you guys do that?
Right after Thanksgiving.
Really? Where'd you go?
The Bahamas, but we didn't even get off the boat when we got there. But it was free.
Who was it?
That was Royal Caribbean.
Okay.
My husband won it at work. I shouldn't say won it. Well, he did win.
Earned it.
Earned
He
it?
earned the ability to go into the lotto that he won.
That's awesome.
Alicia, you got a cruise coming up.
January, not till next January.
Where is it again?
Where I'm going?
Yeah.
Key West,
Oh, cool.
the island, and then Bahamas again.
Hopefully this will be long behind us.
Oh, okay.
Long.
So we did.
All right. Let's see if we can move on. Okay, all right. We are back.
We had Mr. Melky shared at our last meeting, an idea that I think had broad support and I think is a great idea, and that is to offer a reading program to our children